I'm actually at my office in Ocala right now, which is about 10 minutes from my ranch. So it's nice and close, which works out good.
And what part of Florida is that?
I'm about an hour and a half north of Orlando, 45 minutes south of Gainesville, which is where the Gator football team is from. So it's about an hour and a half from the Orlando airport now, north.
Okay. Yeah, I do see us. We are on Facebook. We're live. So again, I just want to give some people a chance to get on a few minutes. And Ray says he sees us.
Good. That's awesome.
So, and your ranch is a horse ranch, right? You have horses on there?
Yeah, I got 80 acres, 28 horses on it, a whole bunch of other animals too. But I got some race horses, and then I also have the Gypsy Manor black and white draft horses. So I've got 14 drafts and 14 race horses. So it's a crazy ordeal. Keeps everybody moving and shaking. Nobody gets lazy on my ranch, that's for sure.
Do you ever race any horses? Or
yep. Oh yeah. No. I've had some stuff do pretty good. Can't complain. Had one go to the Belmont Stakes that I owned a good chunk of. One go to the Preakness, which is a $2 million race. Have not had one in the Derby yet. So that's on the to-do list sometime in my life.
I like how you said yet. I'll be looking forward to that.
Well, the Kentucky Derby is the first leg of the Triple Crown, and the Preakness is the second leg. And then the Belmont is the longest and the toughest, which is the third leg of the Triple Crown. So I had a horse that came in third, in the Belmont, second in the Preakness. So that's a pretty crazy, wild deal. So that's, when they're racing in a $2 million race, if they win that, then they're worth something.
Hopefully when we see you this weekend, we can talk a little bit more about that and catch up on that. But
yeah, let's get to work. We'll get to work.
Let's go ahead and kick off. Welcome everybody to our weekly live training. And tonight we have a very special guest with us. So I need you guys, like I do every week, comment below where you're tuning in from. Say hello to Miss Robyn Thompson. I'll introduce her in just a second. And hit the heart button, hit the wow button, and share this with your friends. You guys are in for a treat tonight. I'm going to be interviewing her and talking about, working with contractors and running your job site. So, Robyn Thompson, hello and welcome. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
For those of you who don't know who she is the Rehab Queen. She has done well over 400 rehabs. I think it's over 450 rehabs that she's done.
That's correct.
And I speak from experience. Anytime I know that she's around and I have the ability to go see her, I do. And I always learn something that I already know that I should be doing better. And so I get kind of, slapped in the face a little bit. Hey, James, clean your act up, run your rehabs better. So again, Robyn, thank you for joining us tonight.
I appreciate it, and thanks for having me. I look forward to helping everybody who's watching tonight.
Well, cool. So right now you're actually joining us from Florida, but you're actually going to be in San Antonio this coming weekend. You were in San Antonio last Thursday for our general meeting there at Alamo Ria, and it was such a good turnout, and there was a lot of information there, and people were. Hey, I want more. And so Robyn has agreed to come on here to give us a little bit more.
Yeah, I guess 2 hours just wasn't long enough the other night. I hate to say it. We covered about finding deals and my vacation rentals and all that stuff, but we really didn't get to spend a whole lot of time on the contractor piece the other night. So I'm glad I'll get to do that tonight.
Yeah, and that leads us right into, I'm going to go ahead and interview her about how she runs her construction sites, her job sites. Everybody knows Ray Sasser's usually on here with us, and he's the same thing. He'll go hear her speak, and there's times that he picks up little tips and tricks as well. So again, doesn't matter how long you've been doing this, whether you're just starting out or you've got lots of experience, you can always learn from others. So Robyn, the first question is, how do you run your job site?
Well, the way I do it now is very different than when I started. And so let me just give all the folks who've never met me a little bit of background so they know. I got in this business 25 years ago. Didn't have any training. Real estate really wasn't on the radar. I was working for IBM and they went through a bunch of downsizing. And I found myself not knowing what to do. So I get in to this. I was waitressing and waiting tables at a diner all night. And then I bought this little fixer-upper house and hired a little fella to help me. And he did not speak English and I didn't speak Spanish. So my first rehab was a long, drawn out, chaotic mess. We'll just leave it at that. It was like adult daycare. I managed to sell the house and made $17,000. And then he multiplied. He brought his nephew to work. His nephew could speak English, and so I can communicate with Bobby, and then he could tell Jose what to do. So we did another house, and then the next thing there was 2 more guys show up, and then 4, and then 8. Before I knew it, within 9 months, I had 16 guys on my payroll, all working for me, which left me to buy all the materials and go lug all this stuff to them and try to coordinate that mess. It was adult daycare. I did 17 houses that way with a bunch of handy Harry, the hackers, as I call them, trying to figure out what it takes to put a house back together. And then I caught them drunk and high as a kite the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. So since that's coming up, I kind of always celebrate Wednesday before Thanksgiving as the transition change in my business. And so I showed up and they were drunk as a skunk around lunchtime. And I ended up firing everybody because they were dancing with lampshades on their head. And it was just a mess. It was just a mess. And I knew it wasn't if somebody get hurt, it was going to be when somebody get hurt. And so I figured I was just going to continue being a realtor and stop all this, even though I had started to make some decent money. And then my roofing contractor came to me and he said, listen, I'm a general contractor. I can do the whole thing. And I said, I can't afford you. Licensed plumbers, licensed electricians, licensed HVAC guys. It's going to be way too expensive. And he kept pounding me. And I said, well, go quote this house I just bought because I don't know what I'm going to do. Maybe I'll just wholesale it and give it to somebody else and make a couple grand. And when he came back with the quote, he was about $4,000 more than the Handy Harry's, where I was going to have to run all the materials and be responsible to buy everything and then them break into my equipment and my tools. And I was like, wow, I don't have to do anything but write 3 checks and I can get out from under lugging 5-gallon buckets of paint and all that. And so he did my house and he got it done in 6 weeks when the other guys would have taken a lot longer, probably 3 months. And it was much more beautiful when he was done and a much higher caliber of materials and just way better looking on the inside than the hackers could have ever done. And so Tom and I built this system together where we were able to do more than one and another. And then so by the time that we spent 2 years together, I did 51 houses in a year, a little over 2.1 million in renovation that year. And it was one right after the other, like an assembly line. And so the right way to do this business, and we'll spend some time on it this coming weekend, is what I call the mature, grown-up adult method. And what that means is I don't buy any of the materials. They do. They lug it. We write up an independent contractor agreement, and everybody should write those 3 magic words down. We write an independent contractor agreement with a scope of work that spells out every SKU number and every brand name of everything I demand to be put in the house. And the contract says that contractors have to buy it, and then they'll get paid upon completion of items. So if they put the refrigerator in, it's completed, they get paid for that. They put the bathroom in, that's complete, they get paid for that. So it's not a time and materials type of contract. It's a completed items contract. And so I started doing that with my team in Connecticut. And, we had a year we did 51 houses and I made over 7 figures that way. And so now for me, if I need a roof, the roofer's writing up a contract to do a roof for a fixed price and it doesn't change. If I need HVAC system, we write up a quote for an HVAC system and then that becomes a contract and it's a fixed price. So I don't ever have to really deal with cost overruns anymore. And there's time schedules that are built in that contract so they get done on time, or there's penalties for finishing late. And they get money up front to start and some money in the middle, but the big hunk of money that's owed to somebody is on the rear end of the contract. So, I never really have control issues with them anymore because their profit's not getting to them until they're finished. And that works out a whole lot better. I mean, there's so many students that get ahead on money and behind on work, and then it's just a disaster getting the contractors to show up. And so that's why I think it's really important to get the seasoned folks that's been in this business a while, people that know what they're doing, but also that you make sure you write your paperwork up correctly, that they can't take advantage. So it's important to do the mature grown up adult method.
So quick question. First of all, guys, somebody put that in the comments, the independent contractor agreement that she said to write down. Put that in the comments, somebody, please. But a question, I want to kind of back up a little bit. And you said something like, you don't buy materials.
Never.
Does that mean you don't
Never.
even order them, or?
No, I don't. Because here's why. I had a friend who had done 175 houses. And I had done about 100 at that point. He had a young kid get up on the roof and slip and fall off the roof and hit the sidewalk and sever his spinal cord. And he was brain dead in the hospital for about 8 days, and then he died. My buddy owned the house, and he had hired this roofer. He had signed a quote for a roofing company. And next thing you know, a month after the guy got killed, my buddy got sued for $3.5 million as the homeowner. And he never hired this kid. The roofer did. He never paid this kid. The roofer did. But he got sued, and he ended up a year down the road, he lost, and it wiped him out financially for everything he had made on his first 175 houses. It was a catastrophe. My buddy did nothing wrong, but here's what we learned during the entire lawsuit, which was scary for me because I had a roof going on that same time frame that was like 3 stories in the air, and the house had like 4 layers of shingles and a layer of cedar shakes, and my guys were tied on with ropes on the top of this roof. What we found out is the IRS tax code clearly states that he who buys materials and provides a work location is an employer. So like for my secretary, I provide a desk and an office, and I buy the printer paper and the cartridges and all that stuff. So she's my employee, irregardless if I would love her to be a 1099. Well, my buddy bought 8 sheets of plywood to save $1 a piece. The roofer bought the shingles and the nails and the tar paper and all that, but my buddy could get a cheaper deal on plywood. So when he went to lawsuit, they nailed him as an employer because he provided a work location and he provided the plywood, and he lost. So he was using a real estate attorney to advise him. Well, I learned that there's all different kinds of attorneys. If you want asset protection, you don't go to a real estate attorney and ask for advice. They're going to give you bad advice. So I went and got one of those big, expensive asset protection attorneys, and he said, you can't buy the materials. If you do, you're their employer. Then you should be carrying workman's comp on them to protect yourself. Well, I don't want to pay all that insurance. They're not my employees. So what we did is we wrote a strong independent contractor agreement. My asset protection attorney did. And what we do is, that's why there's a scope of work as Exhibit A. I tell them every single thing I want and where it comes from. I want this light fixture at Home Depot in the dining room. I want this toilet from Lowe's in the master bathroom. I want this tub from the plumbing supply house in my master bath. And it says right in the contract, if they don't buy the stuff I put in there, they don't get paid. And so that stops all the confusion. They go lug it and get it all. I don't have to run after it no more and run the wheels off of my pickup truck. I can keep focusing on looking for more houses and looking for more money to buy houses, and they go get it all. And most of my guys are smart enough now, they just call the orders in and have it delivered to the job site. So they're not going to pick it up anymore either. But, you know, for us, there's no miscommunication on what I want, and I'm not exposing myself from an asset protection standpoint that I could get sued and lose everything I built. So that's one of the reasons I won't buy this stuff. Not to mention, when I was buying stuff way back in the beginning, it was amazing how much more it took to get a house done than when they have to pay for it. You know, when I would buy the materials like a kitchen, it would sit in the middle of the living room for a week and not get installed. They're buying the kitchen, that thing gets off a truck and gets screwed into the walls and bolted down. And so it's a whole lot less materials, a lot less of my time, a lot more efficient to take me out of the material situation, not to mention everything I've ever worked for is not at risk anymore. And my buddy did lose everything, and I mean everything. And it was devastating. I mean, he had worked so hard for 15 years to get wiped out. And what's really sad is the kid that was up on the roof was hungover. He was out drinking with the roofing crew the night before. They were at the bowling alley till after 2. came home, him and his wife were fighting and he didn't sleep. And then he got up on a roof when he never should have been up there. And he had worn out sneakers on, not boots, on a wet roof in the morning. And it wasn't my buddy's fault he fell, but my buddy paid the price. And so that's why for me, I will not buy materials. After that, and I watched him lose everything, there's no way I'm going to buy plywood, nothing. And so that's why I don't. It's just easier to tell them what they got to do. So
the lesson learned is put all your materials, SKU numbers, everything in the scope of work, and then have your GC or contractor, have them go ahead and get the materials.
Yeah, I mean, like plywood, sheetrock, 2x4s. I don't care where they get that stuff. They can do whatever they want to get the best price because it all looks the same. What I want in there is all the finished stuff, your doors, your doorknobs, your handles, your light fixtures, your towel bars, toilet paper holder, soap dish, all that stuff that you're picky about, you want. So that's what gets listed in the scope.
Okay. So next question is kind of a two-part question here. What are you seeing as far as like, how is COVID affecting your rehabbing business? And two, since you've taken yourself out of the equation of getting materials, how involved are you on your jobs?
Okay, well, let's do the how involved am I first, then we'll come back to the COVID piece. For me, my primary job is to find the deals and then find the money. And pretty much everything else is handed out to somebody else to do. And so for me, I'm the one that's coordinating the marketing. What I do is I have a marketing appointment with myself once a week where I sit down for an hour by myself with no interruptions and no secretary and no cell phone. And I sit there and say, okay, do I have enough deal flow coming? No, I don't. Well, what am I going to do to get more deals coming? I mean, I went and looked at a house today with my REO realtor. He has a friend who's getting an ugly divorce, and he asked me to look at the house. And so he was telling me today he's got 30 new foreclosures coming through because the moratorium has been lifted, and he's got a bunch of landlords that are way behind on their payments. So when something like that, if I don't have enough deals coming, I need to work with him and make sure he gives me what's coming as soon as he knows. So I always spend about an hour a week alone trying to figure out how can I get more deals coming in the pipeline so that I've got enough coming in. So that's my job, because no deals, no money, no work for anybody. So that's what I primarily focus on. And then I look at probably three houses a week to make sure I got one. I got to look at 2 or 3 to get one. So we have to talk to probably 10 or 15 people to get 2 to look at. So we got 15 or 20 calls coming in to pre-screen it down. So I look at about 10% of the phone calls that come in. I don't know. I'm getting lazy in my old age. I'll be honest with you. I don't want to go out and look for a house unless it's got at least $30,000 profit in it. It's just not worth me going. And so that's why for me, I'm a lot pickier about what I do. I do less houses than I have been doing, but the profits are bigger. So just to give you an idea, the last house I just finished up that I was telling everybody about the other night when I was in San Antonio is I bought the house for $195. It was 4,600 square feet on 6.5 overgrown acres of jungle. I put $300,000 in it and then sold it for $800. So I made like $250 some thousand on it after the realtor commissions. So that one to me is worth like 10 little ones. And so that's why I'd rather focus all my energies on one great big bugger than to be scattered all over town running a million different directions to try to coordinate 10 or 12 houses. So I'm looking for the big nasty messes that most people won't touch that are so bad they're afraid of them and they don't have $500,000 to do. So that's kind of, you know, my big thing is going out and evaluate those really bad ones, because I don't trust an acquisition manager to estimate $250,000 to $300,000 in work. They'll underestimate it all day long. And if I didn't go look at it, then I'm going to have paid too much. So that's one of the things. That's what I do. And so, you know, and then once I'm out looking at it and I get it under contract, my job is to do and, you know, go over everything with the contractors and make sure that they're providing me the detailed scopes of work. And that house needed everything. So I had all 8 mature grown-up adults write contracts on that. You know, I had a roofing contract, plumbing contract, electrical contract, air conditioning contract. General contractor had a big $100,000 number on all the stuff he had to do. We had a flooring contract, swimming pool contract. So there was a lot of negotiations with the contracts. And they all signed my contract, which is 2 pages. It's pretty simple, but it's 9 paragraphs. And I call it fair but firm. It's crystal clear that I got to pay them for the work they have to do or they can lien my house. And it's crystal clear that they're buying all the stuff, pulling all the permits, and they got to pass all the inspections. So when we're together in San Antonio on Saturday, what I'll do is take about an hour and a half to go through the independent contractor agreement in detail so everybody understands what critical paragraphs you got to have, because it really does take away all the thieves, all the ones that want to try to pull shenanigans and take too long and raise the price. And it throws all them to the curb, and you're only dealing with the guys who are really good or going to get it done on price and on budget. I always think there's three pieces. You got time, how fast can you get it done? You got price, what's the number you can get it done? But then there's also the quality piece, and I don't want to sacrifice quality. So my guys are not the cheapest construction team in town, but they're quality all the way. And that means when I sell it, I don't have anything with the buyers coming back at me after the fact with stuff that's not working. We do offer a year warranty with everything too. So for me, I spend most of my time looking for them and then coordinating, getting the guys started. And then they don't need me to babysit the job site. They really don't. I can disappear for a week or two, speak all over the country, and come back, and the house will be moving down the way to get finished without me, because they got that big hunk of money they're not getting out of me until it's done. And so that kind of keeps everybody moving forward. So I don't have the babysitting with the contractors like most people do, where they got to go check the job site twice a day, every day, and yell at them. I don't have that. I've got a great sales team on the backside. So the minute something's done, it's drop dead gorgeous and really good looking. I've got some top brokers at Remax that's got buyers that are waiting for houses, because that's everybody's thing right now. There's not enough inventory. And so typically it doesn't take more than a day or two to sell them after it's done. So that doesn't take a lot of work on my part either, because I do not stage my houses. They never seem to get that far. So, primarily my job's finding them. And I think probably the best thing I could do for everybody coming out this weekend is to probably take about 2 hours first thing Saturday morning and cover my direct mail campaigns on how I do direct mails to out-of-state owners who've had it a long time, and how that's bringing in deals that most investors aren't looking at. For me to find good stuff, I go away from the herd. I go looking in places where nobody's looking. So I think that would be a good thing for me, is probably cover quite a bit of the marketing on Saturday morning first thing.
Yeah, you reduce your competition there.
Yeah. I mean, like the house that I bought, the one I just told you about, nobody else was even bidding against me. And that's what you want. If you look in the MLS, everybody's in there looking around, or if you go to Craigslist, everybody's on there asking for deals. Next thing you know, you're bidding against 15 other people. You're not going to get a good buy there. I want to go where there's nobody looking.
Yeah. So a question back on the contractor side, and I know that you'll go into this more detail, but I'm sure there's some burning questions out there. One of the things that a lot of people are afraid of is giving a contractor a bunch of money up front. And if they need that money to get materials, do you give them quite a bit of money up front? I mean, what's your typical?
It depends on which one it is. So let's say I got a roofing contractor, and let's say the roof is going to be $25,000. Most of those guys have enough credit that they can buy shingles on credit, and that's do net 15 or net 20, right? Mm-hmm. Well, if they're doing a roof, that's a day project, maybe 2 if it's a big monster. So typically most of my roofers are like $3,000 or $4,000 up front, and the rest when you're done. And I mean, they're literally standing there the minute they're done. And so we have that discussion with a roofer that's usually 2 draws. Once you're standing there waving a check at them the minute they're finished, then it gets to the point it's nothing up front and all when they're done. So that's them. I mean, flooring for me is nothing up front and all when they're done. The big one that needs more money than anybody else is my independent contractor, the general contractor, because he's the one doing all the demolition, all the tear out, all the sheetrock, all the doors, the kitchen. He needs money to order the kitchen and the doors and all that stuff. So typically what I would do if I was brand new and I never used somebody before, I just get them to bid the demolition and get them to do that. And if they show up in a day and they tear everything out, and let's say it's $3,500 to demolish the bathrooms, the kitchen, tear the carpet out and all that. If they do that in 48 hours or so, they've displayed that they can give you a price, stick to it, and get it done in a couple of days. I would have them do demolition first. Then I would offer them like sheetrock. If they can come in and get it drywalled and get it sanded and get it paint ready in a week, Okay, then give them the door and the trims. Where I see everybody make such a mistake, especially the young folks, they just get one person, one general contractor, and the price is $60,000, and the general contractor hires the plumber, the electrician, and the roofer, and everybody else. And they're like, okay, it's $60,000 here. I'll give you $15,000 to start. Then they wonder why they never see them or hear from them again. Well, I don't think you hire just one person and then let them sub out everything. If I need a roof, I call a roofing company. If I need HVAC, I call HVAC. If I need electrical rewire, I'm calling an electrician. So each one of them has a contract with me. So I've got a lot more contracts than most people do. But that way there's no one $60,000 contract that you got to give $15,000 or $20,000 up front and then hope that everybody shows up. Because if you just hire the general contractor and he doesn't pay his subs, you're going to get leaned. And I've had that happen to students where, you give the general contractor a $30,000 draw and he takes off to Tahiti, and the plumber and the electrician don't get paid. And that's a mess. And so that's why I'm not a big fan of hiring one person. Saturday when we're together, we'll cover the 8 mature grown-up adults and what each one of their function and job responsibilities are. And then I'll show you how to break it down so you don't have to give so much up front.
Okay. So again, did we go into COVID, or were we going to come back to?
No, we went out and around COVID. Hey, and before I forget for everybody coming out this weekend, what time are you guys starting Saturday and Sunday, and where is the class at this weekend?
It's going to start, I believe, at 8:30. Let me pull that up real quick.
Registrations
8:30 to 5. So be there early, 8 o'clock. Let me pull up the exact address.
It's like the Home 2 Suites.
Yeah, Home 2 Suites by Hilton. I think Hal put our producer, he did put that link in the comments. So if you click on that, it'll take you right to the registration page. So yeah, it's Saturday and Sunday, 8:30 to 5, both days. Home 2 Suites by Hilton. And it's 1807 North Loop, 1604, San Antonio, Texas, 78232.
Okay, and I assume that's on your website somewhere.
Yes. You can also find it at alamoria.org, or you can click the link that's in the comments.
Well, why don't I just tell everybody what the agenda is so they know, since we're starting at 8:30 on Saturday. The first thing I'm going to do is spend the hour and a half on marketing. I'm actually bringing my out-of-state owner letter that's for people that's owned a house 7 years or longer, which is my #1 marketing strategy for direct mail. So I'm going to cover my direct mail campaigns and marketing first thing. Then I want to do the 9 types of houses to never buy. And I mean, I'm dead serious as a heart attack about that. I'm always looking at selling my house before I buy it, even if I'm going to keep it for a while. I want to make sure that I'm being able to get in and get out. If the market takes a downward turn and we head towards a recession, I still want you to be able to sell the house no matter what. So we need to cover the 9 types of houses not to buy. Then I want to move into independent contractors. Where do you find the good ones? How do you pre-screen them? And then most importantly, how do you hold them accountable to budget, time, and quality? So we'll go through the independent contractor agreement step by step. I'll go through all 9 paragraphs in the 2 pages. And then what I'd like to do is give everybody my SKU numbers that I use for my wows and sexy sizzle features so they know what to write on their addendums to demand that they buy. And so I have that all printed out and I ship them out to San Antonio. They're in transit with UPS. So that's a nice little handout with everything I get at Lowe's and everything I get at Home Depot, where the travertine and stone comes from that we use for the showers. So I have all that for everybody. And then what I want to do is wrap up on Saturday with the different types of financing for your first-time buyers and how to get them shoved through the mortgage process quickly so that you can close on your rehabs faster. And that way you save the carrying costs and your taxes and insurance, and reduce all that so your profits are bigger. So we'll end Saturday somewhere about 5:30. And then Sunday, what Ray has asked me to stay and do is cover my vacation rentals, my Airbnb, VRBO business. Over the last 3 years since COVID, I've went and invested in a whole lot of vacation rentals here in Florida and also in Branson, Missouri. This year alone, I've done over 1,500 bookings and over $1 million in stays. It's been extremely profitable. I'm converting most of my buy and hold properties that are rental properties into vacation rentals because they make 2.5 to 3 times what a normal rental will make. I'll probably never buy another rental as long as I'm alive. And then what I'm going to do with everybody on Sunday is I'm going to give you my cleaning team procedure booklet, give everybody the shopping list. So if you want to take one of your current rental properties and make it a vacation rental, everything you have to do to get it up and ready, I've got a booklet on that. And then I've got a workbook on a house that I did that I was renting for $1,500 a month for 5.5 years that I converted over to a vacation rental, and it did $45,000 this year. So I want to give you the spreadsheets that you give to your CPA on that, and then show you how I converted that rental to a vacation rental. So I have that handout to give to everybody also. And then we'll talk a lot about how to finance a vacation rental, because it is very different than a residential piece of property. So I plan to cover everything about my vacation rental business. It's been really profitable for me, and I know everybody knows this is the wave of the future. So that is going to be Sunday. And we should finish about 5 o'clock. Probably flight out of San Antonio, I think, is about 6:30, something like that. And then we didn't say anything. I don't know what you guys are charging for this. I don't know if early bird's still on or off or whatever.
Early bird is going on. I believe it's $39 for if you're an Alamo Rehab member. I believe it's $39 and $69, I believe. And then after the early bird, which I believe is going on until tomorrow, then it goes to $49 and $99.
Okay. All right. That's all up to you guys. I'll leave that up to you. Paying for the hotel room.
Absolute no-brainer. Just to hear Robyn speak, is much more valuable than that. And then you take the gifts that she's given you guys, and everybody that's going to be showing up. It's an absolute no-brainer. I know that room is going to be jam-packed. So go ahead.
I got a favor to ask from you. I shipped a bunch of stuff out, and it's on its way out there. I need you guys to give me numbers by noon on Friday to know where the head count's at. So everybody, please do not wait till Friday night to sign up. With all those different workbooks and handouts, I need to be lugging that stuff on an airplane Friday, and I'm leaving my office at noon Eastern. So if you could give me a heads up, like around 11 or so, to make sure that I took enough stuff with me. I can throw like 10 or 15 more handouts in a suitcase, but once I leave the office, there's no way for us to make those workbooks once I get out there. So I just pray that everybody doesn't wait till Friday night at midnight to sign up.
Okay. Yeah, we'll definitely get that head count to you.
Okay, perfect. That'd be awesome. All right, well, let's cover this COVID piece, because this is important to everybody. In the middle of my great big deal, the one that I was doing a $300,000 renovation on it, when I first started the house, I bought it for $195,000. Like I told you, I was expecting the repair cost to be $250,000. And then when COVID broke out, everything came to a standstill for us. And then after COVID, all the inflation, the supply chain issues, all that crap kicked into place. The next thing I know, a $250,000 renovation budget became a $300,000 renovation budget. And then the good news is the house went from being worth $700,000 to $800,000. So I did okay on the backside. With all the delays with COVID. That's one thing about the supply chain shortages. It's causing the prices of the houses to go up. Now, how long that lasts, nobody knows. How long they climb, nobody knows. But with the prices getting so high right now, it's getting pretty scary. I'm worried we're headed for a 2008, 9, and 10. I think it's not too far around the horizon, but they've been giving people loans that probably shouldn't be getting loans. But while it's still rocking and rolling on the sales side with not enough inventory, I'd take full advantage of it. So as far as COVID for me, the biggest challenge were windows. We ordered the all new windows and glass sliding doors for my house, waited for 3.5 months during COVID to get them. And then they came in, they were the wrong size and the wrong color. They built a window half white on one side and half bronze on the other. And I'm like, what are they doing? So it was pretty disheartening to have gutted a 4,600 square foot house and, take all the windows and the glass sliding doors out, and the house is wide open and no way to secure it. And then 3.5 months after waiting for them, they came in incorrect. Right now, according to my general contractor, it's about 24 weeks for us here in Florida to get windows. So that's a long time. So right now, any rehab I'm buying, if it needs all brand new windows, I'm not doing it. So that, I hate to say I'm pickier now about what I buy than what I ever have been, but the challenge for us is we don't seem to have any problems getting most of the stuff. We can get trim and doors in about 3 to 4 weeks. A kitchen is 8 to 10 weeks, but the biggest thing is windows for us is a shortage. So I think everybody needs to know that. The other thing, as far as fiberglass bathtubs and things like that, Home Depot and Lowe's have 1 or 2 in stock, and that's it. So you got to know what they have. If you don't like what they have, you can just assume you're going to be waiting 30 days. The other big delay on stuff is appliances. I mean, right now you go to Lowe's here in Florida and you say, I want this stove, refrigerator, and dishwasher. They're telling you you're going to get them February. So you just got to know it. And so like right now I've got 2 sets of appliances on order at Lowe's and I don't have a house for them. And whenever the next set comes in, a month or 6 weeks from now, I'm just going to go ahead and hold them in inventory because we just can't get them. If you cancel them after they get here, they're not going to get mad because they've got them sold the day that you cancel. But I think if you know you're looking at a house, you better get prepared. So I tell everybody, when I'm looking now to buy a house and I put a house under contract, I put a 45-day closing on if they'll let me. That's why I like to do direct mail and mail to the sellers directly and not buy foreclosures, because if I mail to the seller, I just tell them my closing is going to be 45 days. That way it gives me time to get everything ordered and get everything started. And, you know, if I put it under contract today and I do a title search tomorrow and it comes back next week and the title's clear, I still got 35 or 40 days till I close. So that's why we're hurrying up and getting our scopes of work done. And my guys are ordering materials 30, 35 days before I close so that we have a fighting chance of this stuff coming in not too long after closing. And I think that where you got to get organized and not procrastinate on making your decisions. You really gotta make your decisions and stick to your guns and get the orders placed. Otherwise, you're going to waste thousands and thousands of dollars on carrying costs. It's just going to happen. So I think doing the lighter rehabs right now is smart. Well, I mean, we're not having trouble getting HVAC. We are having trouble getting some electrical, but it's doable. But for the most part, the big thing is appliances and windows for us. This is the whole.
Those are pretty long wait times, especially when you know, time is money. Every day that your property's sitting there, you know,
Yep.
You can't put it on the market or you can't get it, you know, rented out, or you can't get it on the, you know, Airbnb market. Every day is costing you a lot of money.
The big challenge with the vacation rentals is furniture. I'm working with a young 25-year-old right now who's closing on an Airbnb at the end of the month on November 30th. And I took him to the furniture store. And he's like, oh, I like that. And I like that. And I'm like that. And they're telling him, oh, that one's February. That one's March. I'm like, dude, you need to get the salesperson and say, what do you have in stock? And you know, it's not so much about what you like right now, it's what can you get? And so that's why, you know, mattresses, we bought 4 of them today for a vacation rental. So they've got those things in stock. But, you know, the hardest thing is like couches. If you want sleeper sofa, it's a 3.5 month wait on a vacation rental. And sleeper sofas are important because the more heads you can put in a bed, the more you can charge. So, you know, I want to be able to sleep 2 more in my living room. So instead of sleeping 10, I can sleep 12. So, but that stuff, you have to get that order. So I want my tenants to give me at least 60 days notice they're moving so that they're going to vacate. That way, if I'm going to take that house and make it a vacation rental, I got 60 days to get inventory in for furniture, because it's going to take that long.
So when you pre-order this stuff, if it happens to come in before you're ready, do you have like a storage or a warehouse that you keep
What
it at?
happens on the furniture store, like Rooms to Go and those guys, they'll just hold it till they get the whole order. So if the beds are in and the entertainment center is not, they're just holding the whole order to do one delivery when the last piece gets there. You can always go in and say, hey, you got 90% of my furniture, put it into place. So they'll gladly deliver it twice, but they don't have any problems holding it and stockpiling it until they have the whole order. That way you don't have to pay to inventory it and you don't have to pay to move it.
Okay. So was there any other way that COVID is affecting your rehab business?
Yeah, here's one of the things I would tell everybody. The safest place to play ball is in the houses or first-time houses where you can go from an apartment to your first house. That entry-level blue-collar 200,000 and under houses where they should be playing ball, because usually those houses do not require as much as the big ones. I mean, the house I did was 4,600 square feet. It needed a lot more stuff, much bigger kitchen and more bathrooms and all that. So I think the small working class houses are where everybody should be safe. And I mean, if we do go into a recession or we have another outbreak of COVID, the first time buyer going from an apartment to a house always buys. You know, everything's better in an apartment. So I would tell everybody, if you want to be safe in case we have an economic downturn, that would be the first time buyer house we go after. I mean, what scares me about doing the big ones, like my great big one, I was like, dang, if we have a recession, this $800,000 house is going to go to a $500,000 house in a month. And somebody would have to sell a house to buy it. So anytime you got a house that's a $500,000 or $600,000 house, they got to sell their $200,000 house to buy your $600,000 house. You got 2 mortgages to get approved. I just think you're safer if you're dealing with buyers who are going from an apartment to their first time house. When we went through the last recession in 2008, 9, and 10, there were just about as many FHA loans done every year as the year before. That market was really immune to a recession or a slowdown. So I think you just have to be smart about it. I mean, the smaller the house, your 1,500 square footer, it doesn't require as much in materials as something that's a 4,000 square footer. So I think the smaller the house, the safer it is.
When you were in San Antonio last Thursday, didn't you talk about a deal that you did where it went in and out of escrow a couple of times, and then there was somebody that had to sell their house and they had to buy their other house?
That was my big one. That was my big $800,000 house. Well, the challenge with my $800,000 house, it was a doctor from Lexington, Kentucky, coming into Ocala, Florida, because that's horse capital of the world in Lexington. So they were coming here. Well, he had a $1.2 million house to sell in Lexington, Kentucky. Well, it went under deposit. He's like, okay, I'm selling my house in Lexington and I'm buying yours, Robyn, in Florida. And then we waited for like 5 weeks to close. And the next thing you know, he got a phone call that deal died. And so he had to resell it. Well, when he resold it the second time, the people that were buying his house had to sell their house in Canada to buy the house in Kentucky. And so they couldn't buy the house in Kentucky unless their house sold in Canada, which means the guy in Kentucky couldn't buy my house unless the Canada deal went through. So it was like a 3-step process, which took almost 4 months to close. And I mean, imagine waiting on $800,000. I had no mortgage on that house. Imagine waiting on that for 4.5 months. You're like the bug on the hot tin roof. And that's why I said to myself, you know better. You had to do this big damn house. You know, it would have been so much easier to do 2 or 3 smaller ones that didn't need all the materials and all the work. They would have went through a whole lot faster. And that's one thing everybody has to understand. Every day you carry the house, you're losing about $150 a day. And that's why, you know, it adds up over 4 months. So that's why, you know, first time buyer living in an apartment, they got nothing to sell to move. They can close in 30, 45 days. You don't have any hangups there. That's why if anybody really wants to do a lot of houses and move it through, I would say stay in that first time buyer category. Everything they look at is better than where they're living. So they're not nearly as picky either. You know, they're not the I'm going to sue you type, because they're just so happy to get out of where they're living to get into a house that they're just the happiest kids in town. Much happier buyers to deal with too, and a lot less stress on my side.
So we got one more question, one more topic to talk about, and okay. We're going to jump into that. We do have probably about 10 minutes left, guys. Okay. If you have any questions about the 2-day event, the 2-day workshop, leave a comment below, and our producer Hal will let me know of any questions that we need to address. But let's go ahead and dive into our final topic of the night. You did kind of touch on it, but I don't think you really went into too much detail. Where do you see the market going if we have an economic slowdown?
Where do I see the market going? I think everybody needs to pay close attention of what should you be investing in that would be the best thing if we did have a slowdown. I have to tell you, that is one of the reasons that I bought the vacation rentals I have. Because let me just give you an example. I bought 2 houses on one piece of ground. And I paid $125,000 for these 2 prefab houses that are nothing spectacular. Well, they would rent for $1,200 each. So the 2 of them together, it's $2,400 a month. Well, I furnished both of these little guys, and I've put them up for rent on Airbnb and VRBO at $99 a night off season in Florida, which is June, July, August, September, when it's really hot. And then on season is December, January, February, March, because everybody wants to be in Florida when it's snowing like a bugger up north or when it's cold. So my two houses on this one little piece of ground last year brought in $65,000 as a vacation rental at $99 and $139 a night, depending if you're on season or off. So think about that. You know, if I could rent them and they make $2,400 a month times 12, that's what, like 30 grand? Or I could vacation rental them and they do 65 grand. Which way would you go? And it's kind of a no-brainer. You know, the extra $30,000 on a $125,000 property means that the houses get paid off in 5 years. And that's what I'm seeing with a lot of my vacation rentals. If you really run the business well, you can pay a house off in 5 to 6 years, which means you're building a ton of equity fast. That's the challenge with being in the normal rental market. It takes 15 to 30 years to pay your dang rental off. And then by the time you got it paid off, you need a roof or a heating system. I don't want to take that long to pay my buy and holds off. So everybody right now is on vacation. They've been cooped up for the last 2 years with COVID. Everybody's wanting to be out and going somewhere. And they would much rather be able to cook, be able to do their laundry, stay in a bigger place. So that's why, to me, the vacation rental stuff is rocking and rolling. And that's where I'm spending the majority of my time. I don't want to say they're recession proof, but I think if you're smart about the ones you buy, you stay off the ski slopes of Vail, where you're buying something for $3 million and you have to rent it out for $1,000 a night. I think that part of the industry is going to get walloped in a recession, but your stuff that's your 99 to 150 a night will still be busy in a recession, and still will always do better in a rental. So that's why I think everybody ought to learn some stuff about the short-term nightly rental business, because it's the most profitable thing I've ever seen. So, and that's where I'm investing a lot of my cash that comes out of my rehabs.
So just a quick question. Hopefully it could be a short answer, but what about the management comparison between a long-term rental or like an Airbnb or vacation rental?
I manage all 14 of my own vacation rentals, as well as I manage all 14 of my short-term nightly rentals and my vacation rentals and my monthly rentals. My 14 vacation rentals takes me 10 hours a week. I have something turned on called Instabook on Airbnb and VRBO, where if somebody, like while I've been on here, just booked one of my houses for December 3rd through the 6th on Airbnb, it took it off automatically off of VRBO so that we can't double book it. I do a calendar once a week for my cleaning team. I've got really good cleaners, so I don't have to do it. I can manage all 14 of them in 10 hours a week. So to me, that's not too much time out of my thing. To do $1 million in business on 10 hours a week, I don't know any other business that will do that. I mean, if you get an eviction, you're going to spend a hell of a lot of time cleaning up after one. I mean, out of all of mine, all 46 bedrooms with 42 baths, last year, the total amount of damage was probably about $4,000. And 2,000 of that was a pool table that somebody broke. That was an insurance claim that took about a half an hour. So I find it a lot less time consuming than the lower end rental market.
So what is one other thing, because we are, like I said, it's about 6:48 here. We got about 5 minutes left. What is one thing that you haven't touched on that maybe you can give somebody some advice on how to get into the short-term rental game?
There's something called rental arbitrage, which I will talk about on Sunday morning, where you rent a property and then you sublease it and then rent it out on Airbnb. And you need to be honest with the person you rent the property from and let them know. So I'll use my adopted son as an example. He rented this little 2-bedroom bungalow beach house in the Carolinas from an 86-year-old couple for $1,250 a month. That house has done $50,000 this year. So he basically put up first month's rent, last month's rent, and about $6,000 in furniture, put some sweat equity into the house. So I don't know what you would charge that at. I mean, he basically worked some weekends to get it painted and cleaned up. And so he put $6,000 out in furniture and he's done 50 grand on that house. So I think that's the best way to start, is to find a rental or a house that's been empty for a while that people are struggling with, do a rent to own on it, and then load it up, get some furniture put in it and let it go. let it run.
That's something that can be done nationwide,
Mhm.
any state.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Most people think a vacation rental is Aruba, Jamaica, Hawaii. Yeah, those are all nice places to visit. The best vacation rental, short-term nightly rentals, is close to a hospital, close to a national park, close to any kind of football team or college. They're not where most people think. Like one of mine is close to our hospital here in Ocala, and I've got a lot of nurses that come in for a 3 or 4 month contract, and there'll be 3 nurses take the whole house, and they'll split the $150 a night, $50 each lady, and then they'll take it for 4 months. I didn't realize hospitals don't hire nurses as employees anymore. They're short-term rental contracts where they say, okay, we'll have you for 4 months, and they move around the country. And so, you get a house with no vacancy like that, where you get 2 of those contracts a year, you're 8 months without anybody else. We get a lot of construction workers too. I had guys in last week that are wiring a commercial building for Tractor Supply. They're in for 2.5 weeks. So those kind of things, you don't think of them as a vacation rental, but those are the kind of customers you get.
What about rural areas? Are any rural areas good?
Yeah, I've got 2. The 2 I was telling you about that have done 65 grand. They're 12 miles from the closest grocery store and the closest restaurant. A lot of folks like to get out of the city. If they live in the city when they're on vacation, they want peace, quiet, and farmland.
That's me. I want to move out. I want to move out there.
Well, listen, my 80-acre horse ranch, if I got 2 or 3 cars at the end of the road at the stop sign, that's a traffic jam. I mean, I leave that honking and pushing and shoving down in Orlando. I can't wait to get out of there.
Yeah, I'm down in Houston, so if I can't get out of here fast enough.
I understand.
Get out to the country. So, do we have any questions? Does anybody have any questions for Robyn in general, or in regards to the workshop coming up? Again, it's this coming Saturday. The registration link is in the comments. Everything that she's giving away. Do you want to run through that really quick one more time? Just kind of overview the agenda bullet points, and then what you're going to be giving away.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, first thing they got to learn is, how do I find a high profit deal? How do I get my phone ringing off the hook with desperate sellers who want to sell? So we got to solve that issue first thing on Saturday morning. And that's why I want to give them my horsey letter, show them how to mail that, how to use that, and then more importantly, make sure I give them some negotiation skills on how to answer the phone and construct some offers. So we'll start with that. How do you get the phone ringing? Next thing I want to do is when the phone.
I'm going to interrupt you really quick, Robyn. So please forgive me. You said something last week, and I want you, we don't need to go into detail, but at least you can mention it. You said something really key as far as negotiating. There's 4 components.
Oh yeah.
You can give the seller 3 of them as long as you get 1. Mm-hmm. Did I remember that correctly?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, when we do some deal structuring Saturday morning, what I'm going to show everybody is how you got to come to an agreement with the seller on price, down payment, interest, and time. And I can give them full market value on a house. I can give them a large chunk of money down as long as they give me time to pay for it. And so I only need 1 out of the 4 to win. I can let the seller win in so many ways and pay more than wholesalers pay if they'll give me time. And so we'll go over an example where I bought a house from a seller who needed to sell, and how I constructed it to make it worthwhile for them and give them what they wanted. That's why for me, I'm not just a low cash offer. And if I just give low cash, I'm only going to get 5% of my offers accepted. That's why if you can come up with 2 or 3 strategies to make them 2 or 3 offers, it never occurs to them not to pick one. So I like to give the seller multiple choice. So we'll spend time with that on Saturday. I want to do the 9 types of houses to never buy. I mean, even if I can steal one with a good price, it doesn't mean I want it. In a house on a busy street, something in the war zone, something with small bedrooms, that's a kiss of death to try to sell it. So I'm not going to buy it. I'll pass even on deals that make sense numbers wise, because they don't make sense on selling it later. I want to go over the independent contractor agreement, make sure everybody understands how to build that team of mature grown-up adults. There's 8 mature grown-up adults they're going to need. We'll talk about pre-screening them, where to locate the best ones, how to hold them accountable so the job gets done. And it'll take me about an hour and a half to go through the independent contractor agreement. And then I want to give them the SKU numbers for Lowe's and Home Depot and where all the wows come from and what to pick to put in a house to make it gorgeous. I mean, most people don't understand the master bedroom needs to be very different than any other room in the house. The granite's going to be different in the master. The fixtures have to be different in the bath. So I want to make sure everybody understands what to put in a house to make it gorgeous. And then we'll go through the selling process. So that's all Saturday. Sunday is the vacation rental business. And if you're going to do this stuff, 5-star reviews are the most important thing. You got to get them. If you get below a 4.8, you're toast. I want to give them the cleaning team procedures. There's 38 procedures that your cleaning team needs to have to make sure it's spotless so you don't get nailed on your reviews. I want to give them a workbook that I put together on converting a rental property to a vacation rental with all the spreadsheets and how to figure out how to make it profitable. So I want to give them that and go through that example. And then I also want to go ahead and give them the list of everything you got to buy to put in a vacation rental. I mean, the first time I did one, I went to Walmart and Target probably 7 or 8 times to get the house set up. Then what I did is just typed up every freaking thing I bought, right down to the pack and play, the sheets for the pack and play, the baby gate and all that stuff. Now I can hand that to a secretary and make her go shop all damn day to convert one over. Because, you know, every day I delay getting the house set up on a vacation rental, it's $139 a night on the cheap houses. My big houses in Branson are $700 a night. So you better believe I want to get them furnished as fast as I can. You know, the last house I built in Branson, I got the house done at 10 o'clock on July 6th, and I had people that went in at 4 o'clock that afternoon. So you don't want to give up $600 or $700 a night. As fast as you can get it done, you want to get it filled. So I want to make sure I give them a list of everything they got to put in a house so they get great reviews there. And then I think we'll cover some financing if I have time on Sunday afternoon. And then what would be really good is to give them a blank pro forma statement. That's what you got to fill in to get a bank loan on a vacation rental. Really, buying a vacation rental is a business in a box. And when you get financing from a bank, it's a commercial line of credit. They don't really look at you as much as they look at the house. And so if you buy one that's up and running and it's already producing money, you got to fill out this thing called a pro forma statement. If you do, then that's what the bank stamps a yes on. So I'll bring those and we'll go through an exercise of filling them out too. They'll learn a lot about building 5-star reviews, how to write a good headline, how do you write a 500-word description to grab everybody? Because one of the things they got to learn is you only got 5 to 6 seconds to grab somebody that's looking at your house on Airbnb or VRBO to get them to book. I mean, sequencing of your pictures are important. So I've got a lot to share with everybody. Obviously, with running 14 of them and doing over 1,500 bookings this year, my stuff in Branson was at 99% capacity all summer long at $700 a night. It's, to me, it's the greatest business in the world. So I want to make sure I cover as much as I can in the day that I got with them. And then we'll finish up about 5 o'clock on Sunday.
Awesome. I can't wait. Well, that's going to wrap us up, guys. Everybody, you know, if you're on here, you know, leave a comment, you know, thank Robyn. You know, she gave up her valuable time on her schedule to come on here and give a lot of, you know, great information here. And hopefully we see you there. Again, the sign up link is in the comments and it's on alamoria.org. So from me and our team, Robyn, I want to thank you for tonight. And hope everybody enjoyed it. And we will see you guys hopefully Saturday.
Awesome.
And we will talk to you guys later. Hal, you can go ahead and end everything. We're done. But we're going to go ahead and stay on for a couple of minutes.